Hi, I am back in Sedona after a pretty long winter storm that we had here in northern Arizona that had me staying in Chandler for a couple of extra days because it was not really safe to travel. We had bad road conditions. So I decided, after a few things that happened here locally, cars running off the road, people getting stranded on hikes, that I would make this video on the things that you should do and the things that you shouldn't do here in Arizona when we are having a severe winter storm warning. So the first thing that you should do if you're planning to travel here is watch the weather forecast for a couple of days in advance, but especially before the night before you're planning to leave town. Now, sometimes these storms will be forecast days in advance. Actually, the big storms typically are. And you might be discouraged because often the weather people get super excited when a storm is coming, and they may hype it, and then it rolls through town and it's a dud. So I know that is disappointing, and then you feel like, I can't listen to them. But really, many times they are right, and it's just not worth taking the risk if you are going to end up stranded or stuck in the ditch because of slippery roads. So the first thing you need to do is watch the weather report, especially the night before. Now, the night you're planning to travel, or I should say the morning, whenever it is you're getting ready to travel, you need to check the road conditions. Now, this is something I even do in the summertime because you never know if a brush fire or an accident is going to close down the route that you're planning to take. And so it's good to check the road conditions. Now, I typically just dial 511 on my phone, and I'm going to show you the type of a message you could get dialing 511. So that's the fastest way. You can even do it in your car, but you could also go to the Arizona Department of Transportation website, or you could watch them on Twitter. So this is what happens, say, when you dial 511 and you listen to their road conditions message. So today I'm in Chandler, Arizona. I came home for my birthday. I came home for my son's birthday, and we had a great time. And I was going to go home yesterday, but it was a little snowy in the high country, and I was figuring I would just go home this morning. I had a virtual showing this morning, but it looks like we've had bad weather overnight. So I'm going to check the road conditions, but I don't think I'm going to be able to go home today.
This is Arizona 511. The following highways are closed due to extreme winter conditions. Interstate 40 is closed eastbound at State Route 89. US 60 from Globe to Show Low. State Route 87 from the Bush Highway to Winslow. Interstate 17 northbound is closed at State Route 179. State Route 260 is closed between Star Valley and Heber. State Route 260 is closed just east of Camp Verde to State Route 87. Plan for extremely long backups on sections of I-40 between Kingman and Flagstaff due to the weather. Motorists are advised to use caution and consider delaying travel. For the latest road conditions, check AZ511 callback or visit ADOT on Twitter at Arizona DOT.
Well, that's pretty much all of the options for me to get home to Sedona. If the 260 was open, I might have been able to go around once the road closure started, but yeah, just forget it. Okay, so after I heard that road report, I could tell that my main routes home were going to be in trouble. So Interstate 17 was closed, although it appeared to be closed higher north than the Sedona exit, but that doesn't mean it's safe because 2 hours it takes me to get to Sedona, by the time I've traveled an hour and a half, it's possibly they would have closed the road further south, and then I would still have been stranded. And the other issue is if the roads are in bad shape, I don't want to be driving on them either, because I have actually once in Flagstaff, when I lived there, I skid on the black ice, my truck went swirling, and then I stopped thinking, whew, I made it out okay, but then a car behind me slid on the same black ice and rear-ended me. Now, my truck was okay, but the other vehicle had to be towed away. So when the roads are bad, it's just a good idea to stay away from them. Now, I'm going to show you this little clip of what happened here on the Interstate 40 just 2 days ago because the road was bad. Okay, so now if you've decided that the road conditions are okay and you're going to take a trip up north, in the winter, it's probably a good idea to carry these things in your car or truck anyhow. So I used to, when I lived up here in Flagstaff, say, I would always have a shovel in my car. A shovel is a very good thing. Another thing you should have is extra pairs of warm socks, because if your feet get wet and cold, that's pretty much the end. You're going to shiver and you're not going to be able to warm yourself up. So if you're having extra socks, you should also have an extra pair of gloves. If you can have extra sweatshirts or whatever, that's a good idea. I used to carry a sleeping bag in my truck, so a sleeping bag or a very warm blanket, and then of course a little bit of food, a little bit of water in case you're stuck on the side of the road for 7-8 hours waiting for some tow truck to come pull you out. So another thing not to do, and I am guilty of this when I was young, I had a 4x4 Chevy Blazer and I thought it could get me anywhere, and it could most of the time. But the road was closed between Stoneman Lake and Forest Highway 3. Now, if you see one of these road closed signs, do not go around it to get through to the other side, because there's several reasons. One, if you get stuck, no one is going to know where you are. And second, if the sheriff finds you there, you could get a pretty hefty civil fine. So you don't want to do that. When I did this back in the 90s, there were no cell phones. So that was incredibly foolish of me, even though I had the big 4x4, even though when I came across a stream, I would get out of my vehicle and make sure the stream wasn't too deep. Otherwise, I would have turned around. But really, that was a foolish thing for me to do, especially without a cell phone. So I would say never do that now. And then one last thing I want to talk to you about is we had something big happen here in Sedona a couple of days ago. Some hikers had went out and there was the big storm forecast. They took a huge, difficult trail and got stuck for 3 or 4 days before a search team found them. And then they had to be air evac'd out, and it made the news. Take a look at what happened.
Rescue crews in a race against time and in the midst of a dangerous snowstorm, reaching 3 stranded climbers in Sedona.
The Air National Guard, along with crews from several different agencies, rescued the trio from the side of a cliff where they spent 3 days waiting for rescue. Fox 10's Nicole Garcia is live with a dramatic rescue video tonight. Nicole.
Yavapai County officials say the climbers, 2 men and 1 woman, all in their mid-20s, were rappelling down the side of a mountain in Sedona on Sunday afternoon when they got caught in that snowstorm. Luckily, they were able to find a ledge, and they had cell phone service and battery left on their cell phone to be able to call for help. A dramatic rescue in the middle of a snowstorm. The Arizona National Guard deployed a crew on a Black Hawk helicopter for this dangerous mission.
Maintaining the cable while it's on the ground, we had low visibility, so it's very hard to keep track of where it's at and the slack in it. And getting the patients up and out of that crevice, we had to maneuver the aircraft quite a bit to prevent them from receiving further injury.
The 3 climbers were stranded on a narrow ledge on the side of a cliff. They were stuck about 1,000 feet above ground in Haribo Canyon. Staff Sergeant Carl Evans says it took them about a half hour to spot the climbers.
I just see 2 of them pop out, like 33 directly below us, just waving frantically. And even though we were probably about 50 feet above them, I started waving back. I could just see the joy on their faces. So I got there, I got to the most exhausted person, got them onto the rescue platform and to hoist them up. I was honestly surprised because they were clearly didn't have any dedicated shelters or extremely cold weather. They did have jackets and the such, but not the kind that you would need. So outside of there, they were covered in ice.
The climbers had spent 2 nights and 3 days on the side of that cliff in blizzard-like conditions. It wasn't until Tuesday evening that there was a break in the stormy weather and the chopper was able to fly safely. Each climber was airlifted 1 by 1 from the ledge. The chopper landed at Sedona Airport and the climbers were rushed by ambulance to the hospital.
I don't think they had a long time left. When I got them in the aircraft, they were going downhill. We got them in, warmed them up, got them situated. They seemed pretty enthused at that point, but they were showing signs of hypothermia, signs of frostbite.
And in addition to the National Guard, there were about a dozen search and rescue personnel that hiked on the ground to the point at the top of the mountain where the stranded climbers were. And they tell me that they were hiking in snow as deep as 2 feet. Coming up at 6 o'clock, we'll hear from a couple of those rescuers. Reporting live, I'm Nicole Garcia, Fox 10 News.
This is very bad. You don't want this to happen for several reasons. One, it's an incredible amount of resources that is going to be expended coming to get you. Again, you could end up dying on this trail. And there have been times when these rescue helicopters have actually crashed in the bad weather and your rescuers end up dead. So you don't want to do that. And then, of course, the county could charge you the entire cost of the rescue mission, which is going to be incredibly high, and you probably won't be able to afford it. And then there's one last thing, which is silly, but the disc jockeys on the radio in Arizona are going to have a field day laughing at you for weeks. You've just given the DJs here 2 weeks of material for making fun of them. But of course, the big risk is you dying or somebody else dying. Always check the weather before you go out. Here's just a tiny bit of footage of what it looked like driving back into Sedona as you're approaching the village of Oak Creek yesterday after snow had blanketed the red rocks. Hope you enjoy it. Yes, we're almost home, babies. Hold on, darlings. Hold on. We're too wide. There we go. Can we go straight home? Or can we do that? Alright, there we go. We're super wide now. You're pretty. Okay, we're gonna go up to the. We're gonna go up to Ace Hardware and come back around, okay? So we might not go back out for a couple hours. Calm down, babies. I know. It's exciting. We're almost home. Oops. Gotta get a little slip. Some sliding around. Look how pretty it looks. I bet we got snow in your backyard, huh? It's gonna be fun. think except I just play the radio all the time. That ram on the right. Doing some mudslinging now. New one went up for sale. Let's check that out. Empty lot I was showing you the other day, and there's a bell rock, and then there's that house. Not that house. That mountain. Empty lot. Really pretty houses right here. And then we're almost home, ladies. We're almost home. The block. So that is it. That is my do's and don'ts in northern Arizona during a severe winter storm warning. I sell real estate here in northern Arizona, so if you have a real estate question, my contact information is below. Go ahead and drop me a line. And I post videos every single week here, so if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you like it even more, please subscribe because that really helps me out. And I hope I see you again next week. Don't peck me, babe.